Hey guys, welcome to week 3. We're live, and I have 3 of my amazing team leads here. I have Maria Smith from Collaborators. Hey, Maria. And Nicole Mishnick from Innovators, and Rusty Maynard from Knowledge Seekers. And I see you guys are already in the back channel, already chatting. And so I just want to give a quick shout out to those of you that are there. So, hey Lisa, hey Ronnie, hey Annetta, hey Tommy, hey Nikki, Donna, Kathy, Sarah. It's good to see you guys. And I'll give everyone kind of a minute to get caught up and get tuned in here while our team leads introduce themselves. So, Maria, would you like to start?
Sure. Hi, collaborators, everybody else. I'm Maria Smith, and I am a retired educator. I taught school for 29 years, mostly in elementary, 1 year of middle school. And so now in my retired life, since 2010, I've been entertaining children with music shows in daycares and libraries and preschools. And then I also sing songs of yesteryear to nursing home residents and rehabs. But I will have my master's degree, hopefully, in August when I graduate. I'm so excited because at this older age, you can do it like me. And so, yeah, and it's instructional design and technology. So I'm loving working with you and Dr. Baker. So that's it.
And I love having you as a team lead, and so grateful that you stepped in at the last minute like you did, and you have done such an amazing job. So I appreciate that.
Thank you.
And Dr. Mishnick. So Dr. Mishnick is a newly minted doctor as of how long, Nicole has it? Yes, not long. But so I know that it feels like music to your ears to hear the word doctor when you first. So would you like to introduce yourself?
Yes, so I am on Team Innovators team lead. And actually, this is my second year being Team Innovator team lead. I was a team lead last summer. And I taught elementary and junior high. And currently I work at Region 12 as I manage a grant that runs after school and summer school programs at some of the smaller districts throughout the region. And prior to that, I spent a few years at Tarleton as a doctoral fellow and as an adjunct. And that brings us to where we are now. So.
And you serving 2 years in a row is amazing. She's volunteering her time and she does a great job. So I appreciate that a lot, Nicole. And Rusty, would you like to introduce yourself?
Yes, I'm Rusty Maynard and I'm with Team Knowledge Seekers. I'm from Eastland, Texas. I now live in Kingsland, Texas. I graduated from Texas Tech University, and this August I will have my master's degree from Tarleton. I just recently took a job with Lago Vista ISD as their technology director. I spent the last 3 years at San Saba. I've been in educational technology for going on 10 years now.
Awesome. And Rusty is one of my team leads that we're texting like at all hours of the night, like, what should I do on this KP document? And very engaged. And I appreciate your hard work too, Rusty. So we have quite a bit to get into tonight. And the 3 of us, or the 4 of us actually, have been on about 30 minutes before this, kind of getting prepped. And so I want to make sure I cover some of the questions that came in on the completion form last week, but also to just give you props for making it through week 2. That was tough, not only for you, but for your team leads. Lots of communication. I felt like I was on communication overload. I know we all did the whole week 2, but you made it through, you powered through it. And really from this point forward, you've got the routine down. So you're golden. Like I said last week, you're golden for the rest of the class. So I just wanted to give you that little bit of encouragement that you're going to make it through. If you made it through week 2, you're golden. So let's dive into some of the questions that came in from last week. And then as you're thinking of things, if you'll add it to today's meet, we'll try to jump on there and answer those as well. Hey, Molly, how are you? Hey, Christina. Hey, Carmen. Okay, so let's just dive into one of the main themes that came in was about Hangouts. So the tool that we're using right now to do this broadcast is Google Hangouts. And so you guys got to experiment with that last week, and I loved reading through some of your reflections on how you could potentially use it. And, some of the issues you saw that you might have with it. But I wanted to tackle some of the questions that came in. And one of the first questions that we kind of brainstormed about was from Teresa Blankenship, Maria, from your team, from Collaborators. And she wanted to know, she'd like suggestions for using Google Hangouts effectively in a 6th grade math class. And so can we kind of run back through some of those ideas that we brainstormed for Teresa?
Yes. One thing we talked about was to have an expert in the field, like, for example, an engineer or an architect, to be invited to come to a hangout and share about his or her job and how math is used in that particular field. Yeah, we thought that was good. And then another thing we thought about is actually like using it as a tutor session or a homework session. If you had a group of students who were having a difficulty with a particular mathematical concept that was taught that week or that month, you could invite those kids to participate in a hangout session outside of class with their parents and kind of have a tutoring session for that. I think that Dr. Michnik also talked about doing that at after school or an after school program as well. So those were just some ideas. Also math games. You could play Math Jeopardy.
Yeah.
Have a math equation and have the kids create problem stories, math stories with those. So any creative thing like that you can do with math is, I think, a lot of fun.
I do too. I love those examples. And I love the idea of including parents, like if they're struggling with something that their child is learning in 6th grade math, for them to know that the teacher would have, I don't know if you'd call it office hours or math hour or what you would call it, but to know that once a week I could get on and face-to-face interact with that teacher and kind of walk through some of those issues. I think that's such a neat idea. I love that. And, when I was brainstorming about this question earlier today, my rabbit trail was, I was like, oh, well, how could we find her tools that Khan Academy uses? Like, how could she show, math problems being worked out? And I realized it also could be used for demonstration if she wanted to kind of work through and record herself working through some problems. But I really like it more from the collaboration side and the connection side. I think that's a really neat use of it. Teresa, hopefully that answers your question, and let us know if you thought of anything else to use in your 6th grade class. So I want to move on to a question that came in from Shannon Butler on Maria, on your team as well. She wanted to really know about using Hangouts when it can become a problem. So when she's worried, if students might not stay on task with it, how do you address possible abuse of Hangouts with group activities? And what's kind of funny about y'all's questions is one of you will ask a question and then another will answer. And so that's what happened in this case. So Brittany Sorrells from Team Creators, actually, in her question, she gave the solution to Shannon's question. And she said, what if you used a Hangout cop? So a student that could be, you could call it a Hangout marshal or a Hangout cop. And Rusty, I think your idea was to call it a team lead or something. Give that student sort of a leadership role within the Hangout, a moderator role that that student that you might have trouble with. Really give them some responsibilities within the Hangout so that it's structured. There's questions to ask, that sort of thing. So I thought those are really good ideas for kind of when you feel like you're going to lose control of your class because of a tool. How can you promote your students, give them leadership opportunities that help them sort of overcome those difficulties, I guess, and those distractions. But what else did we talk about? There was something else that came up on that one that I thought,
talked about setting the expectations. Like if you're using the tool to bring an outside expert in, we said, set those expectations. How do we treat a guest in our classroom? And, what's appropriate behavior, and set that up front and practice with it before it could become a problem. Try to foresee any potential problems and work through them beforehand.
Absolutely. Yeah. Setting those expectations. And I love the practice, definitely doing a practice run through without that expert in the Hangout so that they can all kind of click around and see what happens when they click here and see what happens. It really does show your face and show your voice, that kind of thing. Practice is a big one too. So very good suggestions there. Hopefully Brittany and Shannon, that helped answer some of your questions. So let's see if there's any other Hangout questions. I think that was it for Hangouts. Let's move on to, there were two questions that came in from Avery and Lisa, both from, oh, I'm sorry, one's from collaborators, one's from creators, but that had to do with how do I get students access to Drive and to Google Classroom if they don't have Google accounts? And Rusty, would you weigh in kind of on the whole GAIF integration with your domain issue and what they might do there?
So what they might could do is create them a personal Gmail account, and that could probably get them by if they're not a G Suite school district. However, you're limited on your storage space. In Google Drive, you only get 15 gigs if you're using a personal Gmail account. So it's best if you're a district, obviously you get unlimited storage. But if you're not, that's an alternative, is just to set them up with personal Gmail accounts.
Good point. You know, the other thing too, so all of our graduate students in our instructional design and technology program get Google Classroom access through our GAIF integration at Tarleton. And that was something I had to advocate for. Our IT folks didn't really want to add the GAIF integration because we are not, we don't use Google as our email tool. But we talked them into it, and it really wasn't much on their end to just add I think they had to add some code to our website and do something with accounts. But basically just us as faculty in instructional design and technology and our students have access to Google Classroom through that integration. So I did have to push for it. So if it's something that you really think would be useful for your district, I would say go advocate for it, and you know, even try to work through some of the steps on what it would take to do it. But like Rusty said, if the answer is still no, there are workarounds. So you can create Google accounts for those students, and they don't have to change their email address necessarily. They can tie their personal email. So say they have a, I don't know, Yahoo account, they can tie that to Google and get access to Drive and all of those tools. So there are ways to do it, and good educational technology folks like Rusty in your district can help walk you through those steps. So those are good questions, Avery and Lisa. Let me check in on the back channel really quickly and see. I think there's quite a bit of chatter back here, so I'm just going to look in really quickly. Cool. So you guys are connecting. Just some of you had, this is really cool to see all these connections being made. But yeah, this is cool. All right, so let's move on to some more questions from last week. We talked about this question from Natalie from Team Creators about access. And so in week 5, we have a whole module on, you know, access issues, digital inequity, you know, what to do if your district is a low-income district where students don't have access to, say, internet at home or devices. And so you guys kind of had a few thoughts there. Would you mind sharing really quickly, Nicole and Rusty?
So one thing you could do is you could bring in like a B-Road where the kids bring their own device, and your technology director could probably set up like a separate Wi-Fi connection for that, so you know which devices are on it. Most kids probably already have a smartphone, so that could help with that. There's also some technology lending grants available. Low-income districts. My district, San Saba, gets that one every year, and that helps with, you know, if you want to buy Chromebooks, if you want to provide internet access at home for kids that can't afford it, just things like that. And speaking of Chromebooks, you can get those fairly cheap, so that's always a good alternative too, because you can probably get a Google Chromebook for $150 a piece, and that can go a long way too for a low-income district.
Absolutely. And Nicole, you had an example from, you said Midway?
Yeah, so two things that the district where my kids actually attend school, they are a one-to-one, but they were having trouble with some students having access at home, and their district was able to work with some internet providers. And if you are like a free and reduced lunch child, you can get reduced internet through a few different providers. And they also equipped a few of their buses with Wi-Fi, because they were that way, like the athletes and then also students that were on the like traveling to and from school could use Wi-Fi on the buses. So those were two things that the district did at the district level to try to help with some of those issues.
Awesome.
Dr. Baker, I wonder if any of the public libraries in low-income schools would have programs where they would work with parents in this regard. I don't know. It's something to look into, because I know libraries and schools work together, and they have internet capabilities. So that's also something to consider.
Absolutely. That's a good tip. Yeah. Thinking outside the box, I think, is what's important there. And definitely applying for grants, especially if you're in a low-income district, you're most likely to qualify for those types of things. And partnerships between community and school are huge. So I'll update the week 5 module to include some of these tips, but there is a little bit in the module on how to address those issues. So I'm glad you guys are already thinking about that kind of stuff. I wanted to go, so we skipped one Hangout question that I thought we definitely didn't need to skip, and I didn't mean to. So Ariana from Team Ignite wanted to know, how could I find teachers in other countries to try Hangouts with? And I am going to be covering some of that also in week 5 in the section on building your personal learning network. But Rusty had a really cool tool. I don't know if you guys have heard of it. So Rusty, would you tell about the Mystery Hangouts?
Mystery Hangouts. If you get on the Google Plus community and you search Mystery Hangouts, they have a Mystery Hangouts community page for school. What that essentially is you can connect with anybody all over the world. And so you're bringing 2 classes together, and then those 2 classes work together, and they each tell each other where they are in the world. And it's kind of neat for any grade level because you're critically thinking about the clues based off what the other group is telling you. And then toward the end of it, you try to guess where they're located.
Yeah, that would be so cool. And so that's a community you can just join on Google Plus just by searching it, right? And then you just look for your subject area. So I love that idea for connecting classrooms, but in doing so, you're going to connect with other teachers and find teachers that can work with your schedule and kind of your personality type and your classroom's personality. Because, I think every classroom probably has a personality. So I just love that idea for connecting. So hopefully, Ariana, that answers your question. And then you'll find out some other tips for, this whole idea of connectivism and using social media to make professional connections. You can really leverage those platforms to make some good contacts that way as well. So we'll cover some of that again in week 5. You guys are in week 2 and you're already looking ahead to week 5. That's what I love about. Okay, so let me check in really quickly to the back channel. I think I saw something come in. Yeah, so Natalie posted that there's a program called SNAP. And so families can get internet help with a program called SNAP. So I'll have to look that up and add that to the week 5 module. But thank you for sharing that, Natalie. And let's see if there's anything. Edutopia has a network. Okay, so Edutopia is a good resource for connecting international classes. Tommy posted that, and I appreciate that. That's a good tip. Okay, so let's move on now to reluctance. So this theme is called reluctance, and so it has to do, and this is Susan from Team Innovators just said, what do you do when you have a colleague who's anti-technology or reluctant? And we all kind of laughed. And what'd you guys say?
Well, first we said you're not alone.
You're not alone.
It's not a problem. But then we talked about kind of starting small. Find a tool or something that can be helpful to them, preferably save them time. Hold their hand if you need to the first time, but start small and have them find success, because if they find success, it's going to help with their buy-in and help them want to try more things.
Agreed. Yeah. I think that's the best way to show them relevance. Go ahead, Rusty.
It's basically baby steps. You might show them one thing and let them spend a week or two on it, and then you might bring in something that very next month, but you don't put a lot on them at one time.
Agreed.
Yeah. And if you can find something fun and easy, and like Dr. Baker said, that saves them time, then that will be a little bit more alluring.
Yes.
It's worth a try.
Yeah, and just what you guys said too. Just make sure it doesn't go south for them that first time. So be there to, like Rusty said, to help with hand holding that very first time. Scaffold it for them. Make sure it's something simple enough that it will not go south, because that's where you really would lose somebody, is if they try something, they go out on a limb, and then it fails. A lot of times that's where people just throw their hands up. So all very good advice. Hopefully Susan takes some of that back to her school. So I wanted to also mention that we have a resource cheat sheet that as new tools or initiatives like the SNAP initiative or Edutopia for connecting international classrooms, as I hear of things, I add it to this resource cheat sheet, and I'm going to share it probably tomorrow or the next day. And so it's an open, it's actually a Google Sheet that all of you will be able to add to. So, and you'll see it's a copy from the last, actually I've done this, I think the last 3 years I've had this resource cheat sheet. And what I love about it is you can add to it. So if you see that a tool that you know is awesome isn't on there, you can add it. And then also there's a tab for expanding your PLN. So it's the very last tab, and it just asks, do you want to connect with other teachers? If so, what's your grade level? You know, what are you interested in connecting? What are you interested in for your learning community to learn about, and that kind of thing. So this is a collaborative spreadsheet with lots of tabs, but it's been a collection of resources for the last 3 years. And then I'm adding to it all the time when I hear about new things. Rusty, just before we went live, was telling me about Google Meet, which I hadn't heard about. He used earlier this week in some professional development. And so anytime I hear about a new tool with new functionality, I just go in and add it to this spreadsheet. And then you guys will have access to it long after the class is over. The other thing too is that it has links to all of my SoftChalk lessons and all of my YouTube videos. And so, you know, if you're worried about the class being shut down after a month and not having access, you'll have access after through the resource cheat sheet. So just wanted to kind of point that out. Mary Ellen from Team Connectors had asked about a list of all these tools and how she might be able to keep track. And so this is the way I've found to be useful, is this resource cheat sheet. So I will tweet it out either tomorrow or Thursday. And can't wait to see what you guys think about it. Do you guys remember the resource cheat sheet from when you took the class?
Yes, I remember it.
Cool. Mm-hmm. It's a lot of fun. I do have to create the graphic on the very front page, and that's what takes me so long, but I'll get that done tomorrow, hopefully. So Molly Stewart, actually from Team Connectors again, and I think she is on the back channel. I believe I saw her on here. She had a question about sort of organizing and being concise with information. And she asked what my favorite curation tool is. And you guys can tell from this class what tool that is, and it's SoftChalk. So it is my go-to tool. I kind of see it like if I wanted to write a textbook, I would never write a traditional text page book. I would definitely create a SoftChalk module. And what I love about SoftChalk, and you guys will experiment with it this week, but it lets you create headings. And so I really start with my organization of content using those headings. And then I kind of build it out from there. So Molly, that is the tool that I use, and hopefully you'll get a chance to experiment with it this week. And I hope you like it as well. What else? I had one more instructional design question that I thought I would. Yeah, so Carrie Norman from your team, Nicole, she asked about same thing, kind of same concept, which is organization. And she did say she appreciates that I didn't start the class full throttle, which I love that term. Like, full throttle's not till week 2, and I even tried to warn my team leads. I'm like, it's going to be so quiet week 1, you're going to wonder, like, why is it so quiet? And then bam, week 2 hits. But that is intentional. Actually, that's an intentional design thing where really I want to spend week 1 connecting with you, orienting you to the class, getting you connected to the other participants. That is a presence in a community of inquiry practice that I incorporate in all of my classes. And it's not that I don't feel like I'm giving up a week of content. If you noticed, we covered learning management systems because that's what you were orienting yourself to, was a learning management system. So I still find a way to get the content in, but I always ease into an online class. And I think that's a good point, Carrie, that, some of you might have felt like in week 2, whoa, but you made it past, and you're watching this broadcast, and so you're still here. You made it. Yeah, that is definitely a design practice that I tried to use. So, were there any other questions, team leads, that you guys wanted to try to address from the list that I sent you guys? There was one on more videos for how to create classes in learning management systems. And I wrote down YouTube. I don't know if you guys know of any other resources, but you can find anything on YouTube, how to use any platform, whether it's Canvas or Edmodo or Blackboard or Moodle or any of them. You're going to find somebody out there who is showing you how to do something. And you, of course, want to see like the most recent stuff, because a lot of times you'll find something that's a little bit outdated and the functionality's changed. But I think YouTube is the best tool because you can go and find pretty well any platform that you want to design on. But any other resources you guys know of for that kind of stuff, training wise or learning wise? Rusty, what was the training you said you guys we're doing this week?
We're doing a Google offered a promotional offer if you don't have any Chromebooks in your district, and it's with Fried Technologies. I believe are they out of Conroe or Houston area?
I think so, yeah. Amy,
they come on site and do Google training for you for all the apps.
Yeah, I did her training last year. It was really good. It's really intense too, but I think that's the other thing too, is using the folks in your district who are experts to just help you start with designing whatever, if you're using Google Classroom or Blackboard or Canvas or whatever learning management system, but use the resources that you have. And like we said, even with your reluctant colleagues, start small, take those baby steps and then just build, I think is the key step there, right?
Yes, and if you follow people like Casey Bell on Twitter or Alice Keeler, they have amazing tools for Google.
Alice Keeler,
Casey Bell.
I'm gonna write those down for the resource cheat sheet. I don't already have it on there.
Casey Bell.
Matt Miller, I believe, is another good one.
Cool.
He wrote
Say that again. You kind of broke up there.
He wrote Ditch That Textbook.
Cool. Well, I see you guys have a whole back channel conversation going about screen capture, so I'm glad to see that. There's a lot of really good screen capture tools, and some of that I haven't seen. So Screenpresso. I'll have to check that out, Lisa. Of course, Jing, yes.
Snagit.
Snagit, that's on here too.
Wow.
And you just posted about Snagit.
Yeah.
Yeah. And Yvonne said some of the favorite ones are some that she's already rejected. That's the thing. You have to find the tool that works for you for sure.
Evernote's a good curation tool.
Oh yeah, love Evernote. Really recently I've started using OneNote a little bit more. And that's sort of what we use at Tarleton. And I like OneNote a lot too, but the sharing isn't as robust, I think, as Evernote. But yeah, I'm excited for you guys. It's already 7. I told you guys this would fly by. I told them right before we went live. You blink and it's over. But I don't want to take up too much of everyone's time, but I do know this is my favorite part of the course, and I enjoy getting to interact with the team leads and you guys on the back channel. And just hang in there. You're going to make it through the rest of the class, and we're going to see you next week. So take care. Bye-bye.
Thanks.
Bye.
Bye.